Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leader in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. Today, Friday, May 2nd, 2008. As we get into today's video, folks, we're going to focus on the turn date that we're seeing in the markets here over the next couple days. And again, today was our first initial stage of the turn date, and it could last through Monday and Tuesday, which is anywhere from today, May 2nd, all the way through May 5th and 6th, which is Monday and Tuesday. And what we're seeing today was good price action in approval of that call. And we'll go over that for the near term, although it's not as definite yet. And again, we need to see confirmation of what we saw today in the markets to really substantiate the possibility that this fall is going to start very shortly, anywhere in the next couple days. All right, so as we get into the markets, I want to just go over what we saw, and we'll go over all that stuff. But first off, we had a mixed market today. And as of the start of today, that didn't look like it was going to happen. In fact, we mentioned in yesterday's video that there was the jobs number today, and that was big for the markets. And on that jobs number today, and on the Fed adding liquidity to this market again, we saw a massive gap up in this market. It looked like we were going to do a day like yesterday. The futures jumped 10 to 15 points immediately on that jobs number, and it was off to the races. And, you know, we always talk about how gap ups, especially following mega moves in the market like we had yesterday, are a good opportunity for a topping tail in the market and a sell-off back to the flat line or to the negative side. And that's almost exactly what we saw. The Nasdaq, the Dow, the S&P all gapped up sizably today. The Nasdaq was up about 25 at the high. The Dow was up almost 200, 150, 200 at the high. And all these indexes were negative at one point during the day, for most of the day, believe it or not. Once they filled the gap and went negative, they stayed there for a long time. What happened late in the day on the light volume Friday afternoon trade, the market was able to push it back to the positive side on the Dow and the S&P while the Nasdaq closed down slightly. So those of you getting home from work, you look at the markets, you say, oh, it was a flat day. Well, a little more in depth than that. We obviously had a lot of craziness going on off the jobs number and so forth, but it looks like we may have put in a near-term top in this market, and that is what we've been expecting, and we won't know for sure. I'll be frankly honest with you guys. Is this definite? No, absolutely not. You have to follow the following days here. What do we want to see on Monday? We want to see a move down in the markets, possibly taking out today's low. We want to see a little bit more volume because, again, today's volume was extremely light. So, again, as we mentioned, a mixed day on the markets. We're going to get into the intraday moves in the market, and I can basically choreograph what happened today from this chart. Here's the intraday ES chart, and this is basically giving us an outline of what the S&P did today. General trend of the markets, and this is the 10-minute. We always look at the 10-minute because it gives us our best analysis tool. Now, here's where the jobs number came out, folks. This is where it all went down, 8:30 in the morning. Look at the size of that move up. And then where was the market after that move? Did it ever go any higher than that? Absolutely not. That was the top. We always talk about how those gap-up moves are usually the end of the move, and then you start the downtrend. So, as you can see, it never got that high again. Pretty much from that point, you had a straight sell off until volume got very, very light in the early afternoon hours. We came down to the 200 intraday moving average, which those of you guys can see here gently, which is right here. You had the 200 intraday. The market sat on that, and then into the close, you had light volume pushing the market back up. Now, very interesting, guys. You guys know how InTheMoneyStocks.com thinks. We're a big believer in PPT, or the Presidential Working Group at work. We're also a believer in the mega money or the large money or the institutions pushing the market in certain ways to fake out the little guy. All right, it happens. I'll be frankly honest, guys. It happens. So today, we're sitting in the chat room towards the end of the day, and my partner, Nick, said, you know what? They're not going to let this market fall and go negative. They're going to close this up because they have to go into the weekend with the Dow being over 13,000. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? You're exactly right. There is no way they're going to let this market close back below 13,000. Instead, they're going to close it above 13,000 and make the little guy say, wow, look at this. The market going into the weekend's above 13,000. The highlights on the news will be the Dow was up a couple more points here, and we're still above 13,000. It gets everyone on the bullish side of things, and that's exactly what the large institutions want. And in tune with that, the light volume today was very, very easy for them to do that. So this last tick up here at the end of the day off that sell-off, guys, that's exactly what you're seeing there. You're seeing, you know, some money just pushing the markets up very gently on light volume as the net Dow closed up. Let me bring that down. As the Dow closed up about 48 points on the day. And again, the Nasdaq closed negative, but no one really pays attention to the Nasdaq or the S&P. It's all about the Dow. Everyone, the headline news is always the Dow. And that's the way it's been. That's the way it will be. So again, this is the basic trend of the markets. Most of the day, you got to move to the 200 moving average and then a gentle move up into the close. Now let's look at the daily, because this is where it gets fun. This is where we start to decide where this market's headed. Now, until that late day push, we had a topping tail on the market. All right, this tail on the top when the market was down here was a beautiful topping tail. All right, but the little push at the end kind of negated it. It's not a true topping tail anymore, because the close of this candle needed to be in the lower 25% of the candle, and it closed up here, which is about probably about 66%. Somewhere in that 50 to 66% area. So again, keep that in mind, is that it is a possible sell signal here with a nice tail on the top, but it's not a true topping tail. So as we get into the next couple days on the ES, we want to look for confirmation of our turn date here, which again, as I mentioned, May 2nd, which is today, and then Monday, which is May 5th and 6th, then Monday and Tuesday. We want to look for this to happen. What do we want to see? Well, you want to see a break below the low of today's candle on better volume. Now look at the volume. We had the Fed interest rate here. This was Wednesday. Thursday, that's the volume we had in the markets, and Friday. Even volume, light volume continuing in this market. Now, that's very bothersome to those of us that are traders, because it means that any move on light volume is not a true move, and we have to continue to monitor it. What we really wanted to see is, if you're having an up move that's going to continue, you have to see good volume behind it. So we have to continue to watch this very closely and see. Now, we also want to take a look at trend lines. Now, where can trend lines be? Because on the downside, there are a couple different areas to watch, and you're going to see support at these various points. Just drawing in quickly here, you can see the support lines here right underneath the 20, right on the 50 basically, two possible support lines on a sell-off. Also, you can look at a near-term support line and actually angle it right into this area right here. Will be a near-term support. So there's little support lines all the way down. As we drop lower, should this turn date come to fruition, as we do expect, we're going to really have to isolate this market and go in depth to see how much of a sell-off it can be. But in any way, shape, or form, look at the extent of the move we've had. You have to have a pullback. Now, whether or not it happens on the turn date, as we suspect, is up in the air. We do think it will happen. We have positioned ourselves to take advantage of that. But just to look at the size of this move from here all the way to here on the E-minis, which is a huge move. You're talking about 10+% move in a month, basically a month, give or take. All right. Now let's quickly look at the Nasdaq as we end towards the end of this video. And again, you can see the little reversal candle here showing a little weakness. Again, the gap up, which made up here, and then the red candle formation. Now, it would have been obviously a much better to see that close right at the lows. But again, you're basically looking for a topping pattern here, which is what we're getting, and a possible turn day today, as we saw a gap up and a sell. What we call it in the market is, us traders, is a gap and crap, which means you gap up, get all the little guys long, and then they just flush the markets down to the flat line or lower, taking all their money. And that's basically what you saw today. So don't get fooled by that, guys. Whenever you have an up day like yesterday and the following day the futures are up big again, generally you'll see a sell-off, and it's a better shorting opportunity than going long. And again, we'll have to continue to watch where this is headed. In any case, just looking at the Nasdaq again, to look at some trend line support areas, you can look and connect some of these lower points, and that's going to be a solid support line that if the market comes down to this line, it will bounce. At that point, my guess, the 50 moves up, the 50 moving average moves up right there into that as well. On the upside, you don't have much more upside left. You really, even if we do get a small move up here, it's muted by the 200 moving average here. This 200 moving average, first hit of the 200 is almost always a sell-off, or at least a pullback. So there's really, risk-reward here is down now on the downside. There's more reward on the downside than the upside, as you just have a small little area up here, although the downside could easily fall down to here or down to this point here. So again, that's what we're looking at. Let's quickly flip to the SPY daily and just confirm it. Same chart on the SPY as the Nasdaq. You're approaching the 200. You got a nice reversal possible candle in the making here off of today's move. And again, this is the turn date in the section of the turn date where we saw it, and this may have been the start of it today, as the markets were gapped up huge in the morning and closed basically flat on the day. All right. Also watch the psychological indicators. Do you see a lot of things on TV about the Dow over 13,000? Is everyone bullish again? Is the media just talking it up left and right? The more you see that, the more people on TV are pointing to a rally. the more likely we'll probably see a fall in the markets, at least to flush out the weak hands. All right. Again, that's about all for today. Again, light volume in the markets on the SPY. You can see it here, guys. This is still light volume. You really want to see this type of volume over here. This is the type of volume you want to see on a mega move, as volume has been continuing to be light. This whole area has been very, very light volume on the whole move up, and we've taken advantage of it. InTheMoneyStocks.com, as mentioned, called it down here as a long, but now we have gone to switch our side to a more bearish stance. We're neither bull nor bear. We just go with the market. Whichever way it tells us, we'll hop on that angle and make money that way. Come join the chat room, folks. Great chat room. It's just growing in size. More and more additions to it that are just great. We have people all over the world in the chat room. Those of you that can't sign up because you see that the thing is it doesn't allow it, so you have to put a state in. You just have to put in some address from the United States for those foreign people. Have a wonderful day, guys. Come join the Swing Trade Alerts as well. We'll talk to you on Monday. Take care.